Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. If you're watching, this is an impromptu message, real quick, just to introduce what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So if you see this, you can share it, providing some clarity on just what the church is doing and what the vision is. Perhaps you've seen us advertising the Last Supper and wanted to just offer a brief explanation. We've been moving fast and furious with this whole endeavor. The vision came from the church and from the great Dr. Paula Brown, and so we implemented it. When God said do, we did. And so we haven't had a great deal of time to give you a little bit of background and explanation on why the Last Supper. And so that's what this message will serve to provide for you. So if you're on and you catch this, share it with someone and then share with them how they can watch. The Last Supper is part of our Rest Thursdays. It is restoring, equipping, strengthening, and transforming. And that is our entire endeavor. We need to move forward. And many of us have experienced shifts in relationships. Many of us have been direct partakers, and some of us have been the culprit. We have caused it. By whatever the case may be, it has happened and it continues to happen. And so this whole endeavor is to help move the conversation, to allow us to come to the table, provide practical solutions on how we can avoid this cycle so that we can be better in the body of Christ. We should be models. We should be first partakers. And so we have had the experience. I myself have been part of separation in relationship and constantly pick my brain, pick my wife's brain, discussing with people, how can we avoid it? How can we make it better? How can we bridge it? How can we stop it? It's no excuse. We have too much anointing and too much education for these type of things to continue to happen in the body. And we are hurting people and we need to stop it. So the Last Supper, we experienced the death of a friend, someone we served with when we were living in Virginia. And so we came across the information from a mutual friend who also we experienced some separation in relationship. And that's just the truth about it. And we got the word. This person had passed. This was someone that served with us, that someone that held us down, that had our back. And for whatever reason, the relationship separated. We had a breach in the covenant, a breach in the relationship, and we lost contact. I made some efforts to try and reconcile, and those efforts were not met with comfort, and they were rejected. And it's one of my greatest regrets that I was unable to correct it and to fix it. I was willing to do whatever, making apologies, making amends, whatever we could do, because this is someone that I value. And the truth is, he died without us having an opportunity to reconcile. And it's no excuse for it. So the Last Supper, that day, we came down to do our live stream, to do our service, and it felt somewhat empty to come on and still push and promote. People still needed to hear the word, and so we delivered the word. But the entire time, my wife was brooding over how the whole thing unfolded. The person died. We got the word from someone that we had fell out of relationship with, and something sparked inside of her. We can no longer allow this to happen. There's no reason why things like this should continue. And so the Last Supper came out of that. We were looking for content to be able to bring to our Rest Thursdays because the acronym is restoring, equipping, strengthening, and transforming. But the first R is restoring. We need to be who we are and be what is in our name. God gave us the name for Family Restoration Worship Center. And so we need to be who we are purporting to be, who we are promoting. And so we need to be first partakers. So the Last Supper was birthed out of that. We all know the Last Supper is the last meal that Jesus had with his crew, with his disciples, with his people before he was gone to be and to fulfill his purpose. But there are some interesting things that happened at that Last Supper. We know that Jesus said, whoever puts his hand in is the one that's going to betray me. We know that he spoke it. But what many of you may not realize, and something that we had to research and get some insight on, is the offense that was going to portray Jesus had already occurred before the supper. But what did Jesus do? And this is our motto. he still invited him to the table. There was a breach in relationship, a breach in covenant, a breach in trust, but Jesus was able to speak to it directly. The first thing he did before he even spoke to it is he laid the table. He prepared the meal for us to come together and talk about it. And so he invited him, even though he knew the offense had already occurred. The betrayal had already taken place. And this betrayal was something that caused him to fulfill his purpose, pushed him into death. And most of us, when we have offenses, it's not life-threatening. It's not life or death. We leave a church or we separate from someone and we don't speak to you ever again because you left the church. Mind you, none of this belongs to us in the first place. These members that we call our members that belong to us and my and we, it's all God's in the first place. But Jesus is our model. He invited him to the table. He invited him willingly. And what did he do when he got there? He addressed it directly. And so it's possible to be direct. It's possible to be in relationship and have an offense, but still come to the table and talk about it. Start the conversation. Have the conversation. Be honest about where you are. Be honest about what you are experiencing. Be honest about what your position is and your perspective. He invited him. And this is our model. Because it's possible to have a serious offense, because this offense that occurred with Jesus caused the soldiers to come in and bombard and rush and find him and take him to the cross. But Jesus already knew. He knew the offense had occurred. He knew what was going to happen, and he addressed it directly. And so many of us, we say we're direct, we say we're honest, we say we can come to the table, we say that we can talk, and then when opportunity comes for us to talk, we back up, we cower, we don't do it. I have been a culprit of it myself, and I know a lot of times we see preachers and we see people standing on ceremony and standing self-righteous saying, it's easy for you to do it, but have you tried it? I've been on both sides of it. I've done it, and I've been on the other side of it where I've received it. And neither of it feels comfortable. None of it is good. None of it is acceptable. And we need to come to the table. So the Last Supper is not the last opportunity for you to get it right. It is actually the beginning of the conversation. And so that's where it came from. We have been doing it. Tomorrow will be episode 4 for us. It's Thursdays at 7 o'clock. We have some wonderful guests coming in. One of the greatest things that I learned about Dr. Martin Luther King, we all know he was a great orator. We know that he was a great speaker. We know that he was a man of intelligence. But one of the things that made Dr. King so effective was that he was able to get into a room with different people, with different perspectives, with different thoughts, with different ideas, sometimes hostile. And he was able to listen. And so we are coming in and talking to other people, and we're listening to perspectives. And we want you to be a part of that same conversation. Send us an email. Send us your insights. The email address is doctorizin@gmail.com. The doctor is in. We will be live tomorrow with the Last Supper with our guests, Dr. Darren Thompson, soon to be Dr. Vorlia Chady, the great minister C.O. Wedderburn, Dr. Paula Brown, and Dr. Tony Stackhouse. We're going to surround ourselves with people that can help move us forward. And we want you to glean from it, but we also want to glean from you. And I know I'm talking to several of you who have experienced it. Some of you I know directly have had the experience, and some of you are going through it now. Some of you are contemplating making a move from a ministry, from a relationship, from something, and you don't want to make the move because you don't want it to go bad. And we're hoping that you can grab some practical insight, some practical knowledge. We make mistakes, we do things, but listen, one of the worst things you can do is to not learn from your mistake. We're human and we're going to do it. But Jesus is our model. And we're reaching back to the Last Supper, to that model, to bring you practical information so we don't continue to lose people. We don't continue to lose relationships, because the truth is people are valuable. Relationships are valuable. People that you are connected to are valuable. And I know many of you say, hey, I need to separate. I need to do this. Be that as it may, that may be the case. But that does not lessen the value of the people that you are connected to, that God brought to you into your circle, even if it's for a season. But you'll never know when you might need someone, when you might need to reach back into that relationship. And we need to maintain it. We need to maintain it. 2020 has showed us that this thing is temporal. we are losing people. And it pains me, it hurts me to today that I was unable to reconcile with my brother, someone that I shared with, someone that I traveled with, someone that worked with me in ministry, someone that prayed for me. We prayed together, we worked together. And it pains me to this day. And so we do not want that to happen to you. And so join us for the Last Supper on tomorrow. It is your opportunity to begin the conversation. It is not the end. It is not over. We want you to be able to come to the table and speak and listen and grab this knowledge and be able to put it into practice. So we're not just preaching at you. We're not just saying this is what you should do and we haven't tried it. We haven't practiced it. And if you found something to be effective in maintaining relationships after a breach of trust or after a hurt, share it with us. We will be live. We will have your comments. We will have your questions. We will share them live if you want to share it. And we're not trying to get in anybody's business. We're not trying to blast you. We're not trying to put anybody's things out there. If you don't want to share, so be it. If you want to give it anonymously, also, that's perfectly fine. But the point is not to run down a resume on who did what to who. That is ineffective and it's futile. We want to grab information so we can move forward, so we can avoid the church hurt. We all know about the church hurt. We all know that it occurs. We all know it exists. We've done it from top down, from the apostle, the bishop, all the way down to the usher and the person that cleans the parking lot. We have had offenses going on in the church for years. And we want to be a part of the solution moving forward. No, we don't have all the answers, but we want to start putting things in place that begin to find the answers. So find us tomorrow, Facebook Live at FRWC Ministry and YouTube Live. The YouTube address, FRWC PA. That is the YouTube address. Find us live on either of those outlets. Share your comments, share your insights with us. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the Last Supper. And then we'll see you on Sunday for the word of the Lord. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We love you and we miss you. Looking forward to seeing you real soon.